Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Tootsie Barron. We'll be discussing her fantastic book, Sugar Paper, available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, Books A Million, pretty much wherever books are sold. But if you guys want to get everything that Tootsie has to offer, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. That's TootsieBarron.com. That's TOOTSIEBARRON.com. There, not only will you find more information on Tootsie herself, you'll find more information on this book, Sugar Paper, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's TootsieBarron.com. And I will say, Tootsie was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today, by some of the best movers in the business. Author Reputation Press Publishing. So if you guys have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and contact ARP. And you can find out more information on them at authorreputationpress.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Tootsie here on the line. The moment you go to her Amazon page, Barnes & Noble page, or directly to her personal site, TootieBarron.com, and you start to do any research on the book, you instantly become aware of what we're discussing today. Now, this is a blast from the past, something taken directly out of a Hollywood film, a classic mob story, okay? Now, it's very unique in the sense that it's written by a woman, Tootsie in this instance, and all of the intricacies that she's going to relay within the book. Now, of course, it's a fictional narrative, so it's created for entertainment purposes. But even fictional narratives sometimes are steeped in realistic circumstances. Now, I don't know about you, but I have been yearning for an escape. Okay, given this past year and a half, close to 2 years now with this pandemic, I have really been wanting something to really just allow me to journey outside of the confinement that I found myself stuck in. And this book is the perfect exit strategy. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Tootsie, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm just fine, and let me say it's my pleasure to be here with you, and I'm so glad that you invited me.
Absolutely. Well, listen, the pleasure is all ours. Truly, truly, we're looking forward to this. And we know that we have so much information to cover, Tootsie. But before we go into the book, let's hold off slightly. Start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
Okay. I was born and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey. You might say that particular area was loaded with what you would say is wise guys. I grew up with wise guys. I know a little bit about them. I was married to two of them, wise guy number one and wise guy number two. Sadly, they're both gone now. I have two children, two grandchildren, and I am widowed. I took up the pen after I recovered from my husband's death and decided to fulfill what I always believed was my destiny. I was an English major. It was always my ambition to one day write a novel. And I also write poetry, songs. I wrote the screenplay that goes with this book, which I'm going to put up for sale in Hollywood. Because if there's one thing we know, mob movies make all the money in Hollywood. So we're going to try to get it out there. And that's, right now I call South Jersey. I live right outside of the Queen, Atlantic City. Well, they've had a lot of mob activity over the years, so maybe it was my destiny to end up down here. And that's about it.
Fantastic. Tootsie, listen, we're going to have to invite you back onto the network, not to discuss this book, but really just to learn a little bit more about your background and hear some of the stories that you have, because I'm sure you have stories for days, literally a bastion of tales, and I am so much looking forward to it. But, of course, the purposes of today's interview is all about sugar paper. So without further ado, tell us a little bit more about your book.
Well, it is a work of fiction. It's absolutely based in the Jersey City and Hoboken area. The entire book, just about the entire book. I do mention two celebrities in my book that have nothing to do with that lifestyle, of course, but they fit in the book and they are very well known. Newark's finest son, as I would call him, Frankie Valli. And he needs no further ado, since there is a lot of sports in my book. I chose the one player that Bill Bryant said was the finest player he ever saw to talk about, and that happens to be Broadway Joe Namath. And, of course, he played for one of our home teams. He played for the Jets, so he fits right in there as well. I have met him. He is a perfect gentleman and a wonderful man. And so the book is about the world of sports in the mob. That is indeed, all over the country, the mob's biggest moneymaker, bookmaking, sports betting. And it's controlled by the mob all over the country. I talk about the biggest five fictional bookies in the country who are all wise guys, and they are there, and it's a fact. It's a probably I would say million is probably closer to a multi or $1 billion a year business, and I take you right inside from the ground up, and I show you exactly how it works through my character Kiki Gallo Sippo Fontana, because she is the only woman to have ever gotten a job as a bookie and went to work for the mob. They trusted her with their money, and she rose to the very top, and that's what the story is about. Kiki is the heroine, and she rises to the very top in the world of bookmaking. The only one to have ever done it. She can never be replaced. She holds the title given to her by the Godfathers, the most stand-up lady in the state of New Jersey, and the legend. And that is about what the story is. It's her journey, how she goes from A to Z, from a naive girly girl to becoming the legend in the world of bookmaking. And the protagonist in the book is her unofficial godfather. She calls him Uncle, who just happens to be the largest odds maker in the country. He makes the odds for all the four major sports, betting sports, for the mobsters, for the entire industry all over the country. He just happens to be her godfather. I guess you could see that's part of the link, why she had to fulfill her destiny, how she gets into that world, because he controls it.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the fact that she is also a Gallo. Her maiden name is Gallo, so that says a lot in itself right there. Why? As it goes to her destiny. I guess it was preordained that she had to fulfill her destiny. And interesting enough, towards the end of the book, when I tell everybody, they want to know, and she knows it was predestined for her. But in fact, the first legal gambling license in the country, it was issued in Las Vegas, and believe it or not, It was issued to a woman by the name of Mamie Stocker. So I'm thinking it was destiny for both of these women. And that's the link.
Tootsie, thank you very much for articulating all of that. I'm curious because I know that this is a fictional narrative, but your main protagonist, is she based upon an actual person, or was this all fictitious and something that you had created in your imagination?
Purely fiction. Purely fiction. I try to make her look a little larger than life, of course. But she's purely fictional.
Tootsie, next question. Let's go into the title. I absolutely love it. Sugar paper. There's just something about those words positioned next to each other that really is enticing, right? I mean, it ultimately just sucks you in, or at least it did with me when I was doing my research on it. But I'm curious to hear it out of your mouth, Tootsie. Why did you choose that title to be the representation for your book?
And you want to know something? I am going to be asked that question forever. And to be honest with you, it is the one question that I cannot answer because I divulge it in the book. It's part of the story. And if I were to tell you now, it would give it away. And I don't want to do that to the readers. And that's why I don't answer it.
Absolutely.
It's answered in about halfway through the book. And the other thing I did in this book that's never been done in any mob book, there's 7 main characters in this book. I put a cloaking device on all 7 of them so that nobody is who you think they are until the last chapter when her godfather, whom she calls uncle, tells her he promised to tell her the whole story of her life and what led up to her destiny. And that's where he uncloaks all 7 characters. Nobody is who you think they are, including Kiki. And she never knew it. I tie up every loose end. And the only question I leave to the readers at the end, when I uncloak everyone, they should be left with only one question. How the heck did a woman ever write this book? That's the question you should be asking yourself. And of course, Tootsie will never answer it. I want the person asking it to be the person who answers it.
There you have it. A mark of a great writer. She's closed-mouthed, okay? She's not telling nothing. You know what you got to do. You want to gather all of the information. You want to learn all of the secrets. Well, there's no getting around it. Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, pretty much wherever books are sold, but make sure you're checking out her personal site, TootsieBarron.com, to pick up your copy of Sugar Paper by Tootsie Barron. Tootsie, next question that I'd love to get into. So we know a little bit more about the book. We started to go into at least the title and where we can find the answer for it. Now, I'm curious about inspiration. I mean, what inspired you, before we even go into becoming a writer, what inspired you to write a mob story?
Probably because of the location and the people I grew up with. As I said, I grew up in Jersey City, the second largest city in the state of New Jersey. It had a very large Italian population back then. Mm-hmm. I grew up in an area where many, and I'm going to call them what I call them, wise guys lived there. I grew up with them. I was around them a lot. So maybe I picked up a little bits and pieces here and there. The way they are depicted in my book is exactly the way they were, the men I knew and grew up with. And while they are all fictional, that's how they are. And they were all involved in gambling, as I say. It's all over the country, and it's big business. And and that's what inspired me. Probably my location, my background, inspired me to go somewhere where no woman has gone before. And of course, you can see a little bit. Almost every mob movie has a little bit in there about bookmaking, or a couple of the guys that are gambling, or they owe somebody money for gambling. But they don't take you into the world. It is a very unique world, and it's big money, and it's run by old men. It's tightly run, and that's it. I thought it's something a woman should take a crack at.
Absolutely.
And again, I am a gallo, so I might be motivated because of my heritage and background as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As we start to tie up this fantastic interview, Tootsie, next question that I'd love to go into, I'm curious, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon the journey?
Well, the highlight, I think, was to create the characters. I loved one of the things I love about writing, being an author, is that you can name people whatever you want to name them. I enjoy that. I've carried the nickname Tootsie for almost my entire life. So always in my work, somebody's going to carry a nickname. That's why Kiki is Kiki. That's a nickname for Katerina. And somebody will always have a nickname. And also, I was inspired many years ago. I'm actually more of a storyteller than anything else. I love to tell a story. And I was inspired years ago by an author who unfortunately died too soon. And that was the great Grace Metalius. The younger generation would never know who she is. I read her book. She wrote it in the 50s. I read it in the mid-60s. A great book was Peyton Place, which ultimately got made into a movie, which was a hit beyond hits, and also was turned into the first weekly, nightly serial. There was a show way back, I think it was in the 70s, called Peyton Place. And she was my inspiration as an author. She was a great storyteller. Now, the subject was totally different. She wrote about a town and the people in the town. But her style of writing, she was just a great storyteller. And I would tell anyone, she was my inspiration. I tried to copy her style of writing by becoming a storyteller, which is what I love to do. I love to weave a tale. And I could talk on and on and on the same way forever.
There you have it.
But I would like to add one thing. I would like
please.
for all the listeners to know, I only sign my books only one way. I won't sign it any other way. If they don't want it, then they just get my name. I sign every book, and it's what I want them to hear me say it, because it's what I truly wish for everyone on this planet. And it is this: I wish you all that heaven allows. That's how I sign every book. Beautiful. And that is my wish.
Absolutely beautiful. And what a wonderful way to end such a magnificent interview. Guys, you know what I love about all of this? Is we're at the end of the interview now. Okay, we've covered so much information. But yet, pertaining to the book, we've barely scratched the surface. There is still so much left to be discovered. And that's why Amazon, Barnes & Noble, booksamillion.com, TootsieBarron.com are the places you have to go. Sugar Paper is the book you have to pick up. And Tootsie Barron is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Guys, let's just get lost in the journey. Okay, take this opportunity to really embark outside of the four walls that you found yourself confined to for the past 2 years, and take a safe journey, a fun, exciting journey Again, something taken directly out of a Hollywood film. And who knows, given enough time, you may see this on the big screen very shortly. Tootsie, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me. Again, like I said, it certainly was my pleasure, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.